Our transfer window closes on February 10th. There's been a bit of movement overnight, one of which we'll come on to in Reece Bozinovski. But first of all, Jesse Randall, confirmed now. We touched on it last week. He's agreed his move. He's moving to the SPL. He's moved to Dundee United, home of where Zach Sapsford has been so good for them this year. Just, have you boys been in a position where you've had a deal confirmed ahead of time and knowing it's happened? Does it affect you? What can it do to you as a player? Does it make you play harder? Does it make you kind of change and look a bit too far ahead? What does it do, Tommy?
It can do any of those things. I think it depends on the character of the individual, but I think you have to give him credit for, you saw how influential he was on the game on the weekend and the goal he scored. It was a fantastic goal. So it looks like he's still very motivated and going to try and help Auckland all the way to the end of the season. But at the same time, when injuries or these types of things start coming into play, if he's feeling something, are you going to be a little bit more cautious to it? I can see this kind of going both ways.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. It depends on the player. I think most players will still want to continue because you want to play and you want to score goals. And he's been playing well. Why would he all of a sudden flick the switch off and then go, oh, but then I'll just flick it back on when I get over there?
It's not that easy.
He wants to continue to go. And I have been with a club before where I'd agreed to go somewhere else, and you still want to be successful as you can. You don't, because you don't want to have a blotch on your resume to go, oh well, we just dropped off there. So I think most players will just it'll be business as usual.
Yeah. Let's talk about someone else, shall we, who's been linked with a move over to Europe and has been told that he's not going anywhere. And in fact, he hasn't gone anywhere because the transfer window is closed for the particular league that he was going to be going to, and that's Panagiotis Kikianis at Adelaide United. Heracles in the Eredivisie, Tommy, a team and a league that you know well. There's talk of a fee of above $7 million for Panagiotis Kikianis. Now, Ernest Faber is in situ there. He was obviously at Adelaide as a technical director. Now he's head coach. He's wangled himself that gig. Is that a lot of money for Panagiotis Kikianis? Is that justified, do you think? And is it right that, as Andreoli said, you're going to stay put to the end of the season, it's beneficial for everybody, and then you can go? Yeah,
well, I think, to be honest, it's a lot easier as a player to go into a team in their off-season and then have the whole pre-season and get used to your teammates and the new culture and the way of playing. To go in January, Heracles is in a bit of a relegation battle this season as well. You don't want to be thrown in the deep end into something like that, but I have to say, I think it would be a very good move for him to go to that league. I think it's a club that has a lot of affiliations with Australian players historically too, because we've seen Jason Davidson played there a long time ago. There's been some other Aussies there, I believe. But I think that it would be a good move for him, and I think it's the right thing for him to stay for now. But if it comes to fruition, anything like that fee, if I was Adelaide, I would take that with both hands.
Well, he's looking after his old club there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Someone who has made that move to Heracles is Reece Bozinovski, the Perth Glory midfielder, 21-year-old. He has signed for the Dutch outfit overnight. This deal went through. He signed a 3.5-year contract. They paid his buyout clause in his contract at Perth. So I think he'd only played 14 games for the Glory, having joined on a free from when Western United obviously let their players go. Mac, a good move for Bozinovski after what Tommy was just saying about moving mid-season, and do you like him as a player?
Yeah, look, but the fact that it's a long-term deal, that first 6 months will be him settling in. You would think that he'd go in and be settling in. Obviously to play as well. When you go in halfway through a year, you go in, you want to hit the ground running, but it's also a bit of acclimatising, and then you go, well, I've got 3 years to really hit the road running. I've been a big fan of him since he came into the league. Western United, I thought he was exceptional. There was a lot of talk at the time about Angus Thurgate and him as a partnership, and I thought at first he wasn't getting the recognition that he deserved, Bozinovski, but we've seen once he's gone to Perth, it doesn't matter where he goes, he's going to produce. He's a very talented player, and I'm glad to see him get a move overseas. And I hope it goes really well for him.
And from a purely cynical point of view, good business for Perth Glory as well. Bring someone in at a free, you managed to get six-figure fee for him. It's a good move for them. Somebody else who did move overseas at the end of season before last, Jacob Farrell. Now, it's my understanding he's going to be heading to the Wanderers on loan. He's struggled for form and fitness at Portsmouth. There's obviously a big adaptation, as you know, going to the English lower leagues. It's physical, it's tough. They play a lot more games than they do here. But for Faz to come back on loan to the Wanderers, do the Wanderers need him in that position? Where do you think he'll play? And do you think it's a good move, or would you rather have seen him maybe stay and get his body right and maybe then push for minutes at Portsmouth?
I'd rather him get a loan in somewhere in Europe, if I'm going to be honest. And this is going to sound pretty bad, but sometimes when you're at a club overseas and you disappear to the other side of the world or somewhere, even on loan, it's sort of out of sight, out of mind. And of course, they'll always keep tabs on him, but I'd like him to be a little bit closer to home. Don't come back to Australia. You've been here, you've done everything pretty much you can do in Australia. So you've made that step. stay there, fight through it, whether it's at the club or another club whether it's in England or Europe or somewhere over there, and get those minutes in a different league that he's already been in. That's my personal opinion. Yeah. Some of the others will have a different idea, but you've got to be playing wherever it is.
There was talk that Melbourne Victory were maybe sniffing around in Melbourne as well, but it's my understanding that the Wanderers is where I think he's going to end up. Now, I promised at the start there was going to be some secret transfer news that I can kind of reveal. It's not going to happen now, but there's a good chance it happens at the end of the season. Mark Natta. So the UEFA Champions League side, Bodo Glimt, who kind of stunned people recently, beat Manchester City and Atletico Madrid to qualify for the knockout rounds of the competition. Their technical team were here looking at Mark Natta. They've been in Australia, they really like him. The quote was that they believe from a technical standpoint, he could walk into the team now. I think the line that I'm told they trotted out was, do we think he could mark Erling Haaland tomorrow? No, we don't think he could, but we believe... Who can, exactly.
That's exactly what I was thinking too.
But they believe that Mark Natta is somebody that they are very interested in. He's off contract with the Jets at the end of the season, as quite a few players in the league are, being sniffed around and looked at by other teams. There's a whole host of A-League clubs that are interested in Mark Natta as well, but Macca is someone who's, got quite a close affiliation with the Jets in that part of the world. I know they love him up there. They're desperate to keep him on a deal at Newcastle. I mean, does that come as a surprise that clubs in Europe are looking at Mark Natta?
On this year's performances, no. I was pretty critical of Mark over the last couple of years, not on his ball playing. Technically, I think he's really good. He plays out from the back, and that's the modern game. His defensive side of things, and that's where when you flagged that part, I was thinking, well, number one, who's going to mark Erling? But two, I thought that's where his biggest deficiencies were. Now it depends for me on how they are going to play their football. I think if they're a progressive, and Bodo, they're doing very, very well, and in their league they're going to be very strong. So I think they'll control games. I think he's much better in a team that is controlling the games and maybe defends on the retreat. Whereas if they're sitting in, he needs to do a lot of work on defending crosses. Yeah. He loses contact of where his player is, and he concentrates on the ball, and players can run off him. Now he's probably done a lot of work on that in the last 6 to 12 months, but that's probably his biggest downfall in his game, and they will have to work massively on that. But as far as a ball-playing centre-back who, when they control games, he has been exceptional this year, and I've been his biggest advocate this year because I think he's been outstanding.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think he would be a big loss for the Jets too because he's so important to how they play because, it takes someone like Natta to give the ball to Burgess, to give the ball to Battleado, to play those passes between the lines that not many centre-backs in the league are capable of doing. So that would be a fantastic move for him, but it would be a shame from a Jets perspective for sure.
Shame from a Jets perspective. That was Transfer Update brought to you by eToro.